ranked on 20 key bills and then 5 extra credit bills, and in the entire 160 members of the Florida House and Senate, only 2 people were able to earn what's called the Champion of Liberty Award. One of them was, of course, Anthony Sabatini, who scored an A+++.
Thank you, Bob. Good to see you guys. Even though I'm short, I'm going to walk here because I like being closer to people when I speak. So, good to see you guys. I absolutely love the RLC, but first I have to say, thank you, Tina. Tina has been the best school board member in the history of the state of Florida. I was listening on my way down from Northwest Florida last night, an audiobook, and it was an interview with Phyllis Schlafly. And I saw her, I was listening to her this morning, I just thought, she's like our new Phyllis Schlafly, and you're literally carrying that torch. And thank you, Tina, because what they're doing right now is really more important than any single politician. So good to see you guys. Let me tell you why I love the RLC. I love the Republican Liberty Caucus because it is the only institution that I know of that holds our own side accountable, right? That's what we need to do, right? I hate saying this, but it's completely and totally true. So much of what we need to do, the winning formula for winning in politics, is stuff the left does, okay? We just need to co-opt it and use it for the right side. I hate to admit that, but it's so true. People don't want to hear it, but it's true. Here's what I mean. The left is extremely afraid of their own base and their own voters. They are scared as hell to do anything. That's why you never see defectors on their side. They literally will get their lives destroyed, thrown out of office immediately if they ever cross their voters on their own things. Can we say the same thing about the Republicans? No. Not only that, but what you'll find is that the Republican Party as a whole loves to gaslight their own voters, if you know what that means, right? They love to tell you, hey, listen, we know we passed the Parkland gun control bill, but you guys don't understand, it's not really gun control, you know? Or, listen, I know we locked everybody in their own homes and arrested Christian pastors and told you you're non-essential and everything else, but we kind of had to do it. You're dumb if you disagree with us. They gaslight their own voters. They try to manipulate you into thinking that what they're doing is true conservatism, true liberty, standing up for the principles of the founding, while actually abandoning them or stabbing them in the back. So here's what we need to do. We need to be, we gotta cut out, we gotta stop the pat on the back stuff. We have to stop it. I mean, I get it. Everybody loves their own party, right? Oh my gosh, they're doing such a great job. And DeSantis is doing a great job. Everyone's doing a great job. Stop. No more pat on the back. Not even with me, nobody. You got to hold your people accountable, okay? The Republican Party, I mean, I'm talking like other than like Thomas Massey, Rand Paul, and like 2 other people, okay? We need to literally hold them accountable. They should be scared of us. What just happened in the last 18 months literally is dystopian. When the history, now we're living in it, right? We're like on a moving train right now. It's like we can see it because we actually are people who understand the principles of liberty and look at things historically, etc. But most people right now, they don't realize they're on this moving train right now. People always talk about the 1960s. What a crazy time to be alive. There was so much turmoil. The 1960s were a joke compared to what we're living through right now. But we can't see it because the dust hasn't settled yet and things haven't slowed down. But what we're going through right now is an existential moment in American history similar to only 2 others, literally 2 others ever. The founding and the Civil War. It's the only other time where everything is on the line. Every single base category. Okay? And that explains a lot of what's going on in the realignment of politics right now. People are always talking about these America First issues. What's happening right now is our traditional liberty issues that were front and center during the Tea Party, yeah, some of them are still talked about by the Republican Party, but a lot have been sort of sidelined because these other, even more existential concepts like, should borders exist? Should rule of law exist? Should we be a race-neutral country? Does gender exist? Does religious liberty, is that okay? All of the most fundamental concepts, freedom of speech, are now under the gun. And so that's what's really that's what's taking the focus. Now the stakes are higher than they've ever been before. What we need to do is reassert to our own Republican Party what those things are. We're in an interesting cycle, right? Guys like Bob White, who have been through politics for years and years and years, know exactly what part of the cycle we're in right now. Right? The Dems won, right? Apparently, supposedly they won. We're in this cycle now where everyone's like, okay, it's time to take the country back. And this is actually the most important time for the people in this room, for people in the liberty movement. Because what's happening right now is the National Republican Party, which are feckless, weak-kneed, white wine swilling rhinos. If you've heard that line before, it's because I just stole it from Roger Stone. He endorsed me last week, and there's a great video you should watch it. What we need to do is hold them accountable. Okay, where was I? on that rant there. Say again? Yeah, so here's what's going on. We're in the part of the cycle where the Republican Party is going to say, stop all this divisive stuff. We just need to take the country back. We just need to beat the Democrats back. Bite your lip. I know we just destroyed the economy, doubled the debt, did all these things. Under Republican watch. They're talking about critical race theory, like it popped up when Biden came in. The critical race theory has been going on for years, and the feckless bastards haven't done anything about it. All right? It's not new. It's not new. I lived at the University of Florida for college and law school. It happened on Republican watch. And a Republican trifecta states like us, State House, State Senate, governorship, all Republican. They sat back and did nothing. So here's what's going on. We're in this cycle where they're going to tell you, just don't worry about primaries and all that stuff. We all just need to, come together and then just support whatever Republicans come out and the establishment chooses and help win the House back and take the Republican Party back, or take the country back. Folks, I'm here to tell you that the most important thing you can do at this point in time is the exact opposite of that advice. We need to start primarying every single rhino in this country. And that's not a throwaway applause line. I mean that quite literally. I want people in this room to commit to primary the Republicans who sat back and did nothing during these lockdowns and voted for these bailouts. Let me tell you what these bailouts were. The ones that happened from early March on, when they told everybody that Thomas Massey was a murderer for making people go vote, etc. Let me tell you what those bailouts were. All the bailouts that happened on Republican Watch were subsidized lockdowns. They were subsidizing the lockdowns. By doing the bailouts, they were keeping the country closed for longer, right? Because what did the Democrats do? They did their bailout. Hey, guess what? Strings attached. You can't do tax cuts. By the way, that was false, but they attempted to do it. The Republicans could have ever easily said, we'll give you the bailout money, we'll do all this free money to the people who have been hurt from the pandemic if you promise not to lock down your states. But because we have weak, feckless, weak-kneed Republicans, they never did that. So all the Republicans that sat idly by or were complicit played a major role in the destruction of our country. Let's be completely honest, the resulting stolen election all stemmed back from the mismanagement of the pandemic, going along with the narrative, allowing Tony Fauci to create the cult of Fauciism that destroyed our country. They all need to be primary. Everybody here needs to start looking at every single race, city, county, I don't care if it's HOA. Everybody here needs to start looking at these races, and you need to get involved. We already have enough people online talking about how bad of a spot we're in. We already have enough people debating. We got enough white papers and think tanks and all that. We need candidates. What I found in my few years of politics, right? I'll tell you my quick story real fast. So I was conservative. My parents raised me as conservative. They were hardworking Italian, middle-class restaurant owners. You can imagine I grew up Republican. But I really wasn't involved in the party and didn't really care until I moved to New York City and I lived in a progressive area. I never lived in a really left-wing place. And at the time I said, I just need to do whatever I can to fight whatever this is to make sure it never destroys the country. I went back into law school and got involved in politics. It's like making a weird noise. Is it good? Okay, good. So I served on the city commission, I served on the state house. I always tell people, there's Congress, there's all these different jobs, and people were so obsessed with the higher level parts of politics. I was able to get more wins for liberty on the city commission and fighting against the namby-pamby insanity of local government than I ever did, or imagine I could do. Oh, it's like on or something. Is it good now or no? You got another mic? Okay, this one's stuck, so I'll just stand here. It's fine. So listen. Everybody needs to run. City Commission, we were able to get so many wins, it's not even funny. We fought for the Second Amendment. We fought for tax cuts, every single thing. There's so much that we can do. We need to do it at every single level because what's happening is, and like I said, the hardest thing I found in politics is candidate recruitment. It is so hard to find people to run. Everybody wants to talk about it, but they never want to run. So we need people to run. That's, as you can see, I can talk about a million things, but that's the message I'm trying to hammer home the most. It's just everybody needs to seriously consider running. When I say run, I don't mean like file and then just go to like Republican Liberty Caucus meetings once a month and shake hands. I'm talking go knock doors and move the ideas forward and hold our own side accountable. It's the most important thing. All right, now let me talk a little bit about what's going on in Tallahassee and what I fought for. So I was the only no vote on the budget this year. We got a little flack for that. Whatever, I don't care. The truth of the matter is the budget was atrocious. It was garbage. One of the worst budgets in the history of the state of Florida. But what happens is, because it's Republican, everybody's just going to like pat themselves on the back, and because DeSantis is the governor, and DeSantis is a good governor, we're supposed to abandon basically any criticism of our own side. The budget was atrocious. It grew by 8.5%, single largest budget increase in the history of the state of Florida. Inside there were some major tax regulatory issues, bad things for business, $1 billion new tax on online sales. I was one of the few no votes on that. So what we need to do is this kind of knowledge needs to be pushed out to the people, and then they need to be equipped with that knowledge so they can hold their own side accountable. The biggest thing you can do in politics, I think I heard Thomas Massey say a similar thing, is we need to be able to expose what's going on, and then take what's going on and distribute it out to the people, because if the people know, they can wake up and they can fight back. If they don't know, if everyone's just like everything's going great in the world of Florida, and they don't realize how much government's growing and how many bad laws are passing, 275 bills passed this year in the state legislature, most of them were quite bad. If people don't know that, there's nothing they can do, okay? And the other big part, the other big issue we have right now is not just the lack of knowledge, but the window dressing. So a lot of bills will get passed and they'll be like, look, we're doing something on this issue, but they're doing nothing. Let me tell you exactly what I mean. This week, the big issue is intellectual freedom on campus. We're going to start increasing intellectual freedom on the campuses of University of Florida and all the rest of the places. And they did it through this pathetic, measly bill saying, oh, the university professors will be required to do an anonymous survey saying, you know, if they're like radical left or right wingers or whatever. Shocker, I can tell you what the results of the survey are going to be. 99% of them are going to be far left Democrats, and like 1%, if he has the courage, he's going to speak out as a Republican. You know, he's going to register. He's going to say that he was Republican. I had 52 professors at UF Law School. There was one registered Republican out of the 52 tenured professors. And then the other part of the bill is it says, oh, in the classroom, students are finally allowed, I don't know why this was ever illegal, but to start reporting their professor without their permission. This is ridiculous. Why are our sights always set so low? The problem is, we're told from these weak Republicans that if they do this much, we're supposed to be grateful. The truth of the matter is, let's be honest, as liberty people, we need to be aiming to shut down these leftist institutions on the campuses. I mean, literally defund them. We need to defund the left, deinstitutionalize the left. It's what they're trying to do to us. It's what we need to try to do to them. Deinstitutionalize. And here's what I mean. We need to go through all the college campuses, all the cities and counties, every institution of government in the state, and it's a leftist, hostile to American values, hostile to our country, hostile to the Republican Party and our values. We need to defund them. We are subsidizing our own destruction. There was a million reasons I could have voted for the budget this year, but the real reason, the utmost reason, was because that budget had record level funding for educational institutions in our state, which turn around, take our kids and grandkids and tell them that we're racists, xenophobic, backwards, all these other things, and basically turn them against the country. So why are we subsidizing again and again and again institutions that literally are here to destroy our country? We're literally planting the seeds for our own destruction, and we do it again and again and again. I could talk to you all day about it, I don't have the time, but I'll just give you it in a nutshell. Most of the people you've elected into the Republican Party do not serve you. I mean that quite literally. They do not care about you. They're not here to serve you. They're either here to serve two people, one of two people, usually sometimes both. Either themselves, quite literally themselves, so that way they can say, okay, like, I mean this is eyewitness, I should write a book. They're in office because they're trying to get some other job, or some other kind of contract, or some kind of promotion. Sometimes it's completely material, sometimes it's more social, but they want some private gain from their service, okay? That's why they abandon, any kind of hard issue. The other one is they're serving the people who got them there, which are generally the special interests. Because the truth is, they could have done what I did, which is the hard scrabble road of knocking almost 7,000 doors, raising money from scratch, all grassroots, running a hardcore campaign on social media and everywhere else, and winning the hard way. Or they could have went and just kind of sold out to the special interest, played in like the internal politics of Tallahassee, DC, or your local city or county government, and try to take that path inward. And if it's those people that are getting elected again and again and again, I'm telling you, they're not here to serve you. And that's why it shocks people, like Bob said, a lot of times I'll be like the only no vote, or it'll be like 5 no votes on the House floor, 3. And people will be like, oh, he must just have some crazy idea, he's just looking at things esoterically and like being a perfectionist. No, the truth of the matter is, they're passing liberal bills again and again and again and again because the people in the room who do have a conservative conscience, who would vote the right way, are simply too afraid of their masters or of losing their private gain to do the right thing. Okay, now let me tell you. I've served in the House now 3 years. I would have done 4 before I go to Congress. So in the 4 years, I had the best speaker in the history of the Florida House. Not perfect. He had some bad issues, but overall, he was the best we've had in a long time. His name was Jose Oliva. On the House floor under Oliva, I only voted no on the House floor like 5 times a year. I think it was 6 times a year was the average in my 2 years. This year, I voted on the floor no 45 times. The state legislature is in a really bad spot right now. They do not have conservative leadership. They got a lot of frauds, phonies, and fakes who act like they're conservatives, but nobody is holding them accountable. Now, I'm telling you, what they're afraid of more than anything else, especially this election cycle, is to get more people like me up there, okay? They're literally, I'm beholden to no one. I'm not exaggerating. I'm beholden to no one. I always read the bills and then I just say, I'm actually on my desk on the House floor, I'll have a stack of paper about this big on my desk. And a lot of freshmen will come up to me and they'll say, what are you doing with all those bills? What are those? I'm like, I read every single bill and every bill analysis. And they'll look at me, they literally think I'm joking, right? Because this is the bad advice they've been given as freshmen. It's just like, just vote with the party on everything and don't get involved in the details of anything. Except for like the 2 or 3 bills that you file. They don't really file them. They're given to them from the majority office of the speaker and said, file these so we can appease the donors that helped fund the speaker election and all the rest of the stuff. So you're going to file these bills. So by the way, I hate to trash my colleagues, but they deserve this. So a lot of times you'll see these guys. They'll be like, I filed this bill. My bill passed. I got a bill that passed. Blah, 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 blah. 99, not all the time, but 90% of the time, what that is that's a bill given to them from the majority office that the speaker of the majority office said, you're going to run this bill. They get patted on the head like a little child. Like, you're going to run this bill. We're going to go push it through the House and the Senate. And, we're the ones who collect, like, lobbyist money from it or whatever, personal gain, and, like, serve whoever we want, whoever it benefits. And then you get to say that, like, you ran the bill. The truth is they did nothing. They were, like, just like a carrier pigeon. And it's hilarious. It's quite hilarious. Because I've passed a few bills. A lot of the bills were actually controversial and barely passed. But a lot of the bills that do pass are the ones that they've sort of paved the way for. So what we need to do is actually start, and Bob does a better job than this than anybody else, go through all the legislation and see what actually is conservative and what's not. And the RLC is the best institution in the country for doing that. Like, nobody else is doing that. People always ask me, how do I find out what's going on in Tallahassee? The truth of the matter is there's very few people that actually follow what's going on in state politics. The ROC is like the preeminent one, and everybody here should be as involved as possible because they're the only ones who are going to educate you on everything. Florida Family Policy Council, John Steinberger, they do a pretty good job too. Different set of issues, but they do a good job too. But there's literally, you can count on one hand how many people are even trying. So back to what I was saying. The leadership is afraid as hell that people like me, more and more people like me, are going to be elected. Now, we've been enabled by technology. Social media has been a big boon to me. If it wasn't for social media, I would not have been able to get my grassroots message out as well as a city commissioner or as a house rep, etc. Right? I have the biggest social media following in the state legislature. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of it, because I put everything on there and I allow folks to know what's going on and I expose them. What we need is an army of people like that. I'm trying to go to Congress, right? Because there's not enough people like Thomas Massey up there. But I need more replacements in the state house. Okay, so Emily Nunes is here. Stand up, Emily. She's running. She isn't filed yet, but she's going to file very soon. She's running in Nassau and Duval County. We all need to help her. She needs to come to Tallahassee because she's a really tough fighter who doesn't give a damn what they're going to tell her. And she's going to do the right thing. Is Chandler here? Where's Chandler? So I always tell people, we got more rhinos in Tallahassee than the San Diego Zoo. And one of the best guys running this year is primarying the single biggest rhino in the state legislature, a guy named Thad Altman. He's been in office literally since Reagan's first term, in different offices. And there's a guy named Chandler running against him. I've endorsed him, which is, I think, the first time this ever happened. Usually a sitting Republican does not endorse in primaries against incumbents. It's just not, it's like uncouth. But we're going to make that the new normal. We're going to make that the new normal. Because what we need to do is start recruiting and helping each other and building these networks. And that's the only way we're going to take the state back and in the country back. Now, the Republican Party in Florida's strategy is they just throw a few things out there to kind of keep the masses happy, right? They'll do like one bill. They'll do like a window dressing bill. They'll be like, hey, we're going to throw one thing out there for the base to like, and then they get so like distracted and happy with it that we can just sit idly by on everything else and do literally nothing on like 10 other major issues. And then people are like, oh, I love the state because we were only locked down for like 2 months, or like the bars were only closed for 6 months, or I was only labeled non-essential for 4 months. You know, this kind of nonsense. The truth of the matter is, if we have a great enough movement, none of those, we're going to be moving the issues on every single issue. I'll give you the perfect example of what the Republican Party does in Florida. So the transgender bill this year, right? Governors got tore up across the country because they killed the transgender bill that would have prevented surgeries on small children in the state of Florida who were experiencing gender dysphoria. So I filed a 2-part bill. One part would have stopped the surgeries on children less than 18 years old from getting transgender surgery. Obviously, it should be illegal for them to do that. But there's also this, I think, an easier bill to pass, which is the bill that said no men can play in girls' sports in K through 12. So what they always do is the Republican Party never wants to fight like the left does. They never want to fight with the same tenacity. So they'll give you a win on one, but like sit back and do nothing on everything else. So yeah, we prohibited men from playing in women's sports. I mean, why is that a win? Like, we're just playing defense and like it shouldn't even been debated. Like, come on, like it's 75% public approval rating. But they killed my bill. How much time do we have? 5 minutes. They killed my bill on stopping these transgender surgeries in Florida. Today, in the state of Florida, the Republican Party killed my bill to stop the transgender surgeries on these children. It's sick and it's disgusting. Okay. Constitutional carry, 2 years in a row now. I filed constitutional carry in the state of Florida. I'll be filing it again next year because once again, they killed constitutional carry in the state of Florida. Now, thankfully, they passed it in Texas, but they literally are killing these bills in the state of Florida. The vaccine passport bill should have included, in my opinion, employment protections. You shouldn't be fired from your job if these big woke companies are saying you either get vaccinated or you're going to be fired. Once again, the Republican Party chose not to pass that bill. They only include it for like common goods, like if you walk into a Walmart, they can't see if you're vaccinated. There's a whole host of issues that we need to move forward on, and we're going to move forward on them. But what we need to do is, like I said, I want to reiterate this, is everybody in this room needs to be running for office because there's nothing the Republican incumbents are more scared of than primary elections in their own base, right? They are so scared, it's not even funny. So what everybody here needs to do is look up who I'm sure you know, but you need to look up who your House member is and your state senator. Because of redistricting, you have the option of choosing which seat you want to run in because there's so many different seats and the lines are blurry. So you could just find your favorite rhino and file against them right now. You don't even have to live there. File right now just to hold them on their toes. It's funny what people do when they get primary. It's funny how fast the wall in Texas is now being built now that Greg Abbott has not just one, but probably 2 primary opponents. But I only have a few minutes left, so let me just wrap up by saying this. We got to take our country back. We all know that, okay? But ignore the mainstream line from the Republican Party that we all just need to like join forces and focus on the Dems right now. We need to take the country back. We got to take the Republican Party back, okay? My campaign buddy, Justin Grice, likes this line, so I'm going to use it. This is true. This comes out of my heart. When I look at the Republican Party today, and it's almost a humorous example, comparison, but it's worth thinking about. Take the 50 some odd people that were sitting in the Second Continental Congress 240 years ago, 245 years ago, and replace them with the average members of the Republican Party today. Do you think that we would be an independent nation right now? Right? I mean, it's funny, it actually draws laughter, but think about what that actually means. The people we're electing in office right now to represent us, we the people, are not the people who, at the founding, were envisioned to lead this nation. They don't have the character, they don't have the virtue, they don't have the courage or the guts, they don't even have the honesty. And it's time to get rid of them. Stop being beholden. It's no more being beholden to the Republicans that we have in office right now. It's time to throw their asses out and primary them and get some good people in. We need people, I mean, it's a pretty high mark, but that's literally what you should be aiming for. People that would literally be able to serve in the Second Continental Congress and say, we're going to sign this Declaration of Independence, and we don't care if we get killed, we are going to sacrifice our lives for this nation. If you don't have those people in office, you have a moral obligation to run against them right now. I'm Anthony Sabatini, State Rep, District 32, Florida House, but I'm running for Congress, District 7. I need your support. Thank you for having me. I'll be here all weekend.